Issues. Let's bring in Tennessee Representative Marsha Blackburn. Thank you for joining us, Congresswoman. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
So I want to ask you your opinion on something. The goal is for the House and Senate obviously to get a resolution before mid-October, but people are talking about getting tax reform done before the budget is done. I mean, is that putting the cart before the horse? What is going to come first? Just so our people at home know.
The preference is to get the budget done first, right, so that we can set the reconciliation number and then move forward with tax reform. The good thing is, and this is where the cart kind of gets before the horse, is that you have people discussing what they really want to see in this bill. And that's the positive. I think we are going to have that resolved by the time we get the budget across the line and get that reconciliation number, and it will be a very quick finish.
When it comes to the budget, because I want to ask you a couple questions about tax reform, what is going to be a sticking point? And do you think we should be hearing more now? Should the conversations be taking place right now?
Conversations on the budget have been taking place, and we continue to try to push it across the line so that we can have a budget that takes away from the bureaucracy the ability to decide where funds go. This is something that Congress should do. This week we passed our appropriations bills in the House and finished that appropriations work for the first time in 12 years. That's what you should do. You set the limits for the bureaucracy and kind of put the rails of the road up, and that's a big part of this process, and it gets us away from this continuing resolution, which
right, gives
the bureaucracy that power.
We talk about a number of critical issues when it comes to tax reform, and obviously it's very dependent on what we see coming out of the budget. But what do you think is going to be the most critical? Is it going to be the corporate tax? Is it going to be the business write-offs? What do you think is going to be the biggest sticking point?
You know, Elizabeth, there are two things that I think everyone wants to see. First, flatter, fairer, simpler, so that it is a flatter rate, lower those marginal rates, give everybody the opportunity to go in and reset their withholding. And this is how you put the focus on hardworking taxpayers and those middle-class earners. Flatten out those rates. Make certain that you also look at relief for not only individuals, but for small businesses, for Main Street. And that's another big component, fairer in this process, so that your business rate, a 15 to 20% rate, whatever it ends up being, applies to all of your partnerships and your LLCs. Let them benefit from that lower rate, just like big companies do. And that is fairer for the entire process. Your small businesses are where jobs creation is. That is one of our president's goals, and we want to see him achieve that. And then, of course, simpler. Simplify this form so that an easy 1040 is really an easy 1040. We have a form that's a postcard size, 14 lines. That is what taxpayers tell us they want. We feel like we've got support for that in the House. We're encouraging our colleagues in the Senate to do likewise, and let's get this job done before the end of the year.
Okay, you talked about the House and the Senate. I do have one more question for you, because we know there's a lot of focus on the big six, and one of them obviously is White House Economic Advisor Gary Cohen. But I want to ask you, is there fluidity in the vision that those leaders are seeing? And then also, let's say Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, we know there's a meeting going to be taking place on Tuesday. Are they all on the same page?
I think the president, the vice president, and then the advisors are working with the House and the Senate to get everybody on the same page. And yes, being able to have those good discussions, and I will also say being able to have some bipartisan discussions and that robust political debate, two-party debate that has served our nation well. We want tax reform to be something that lasts. We want to bring certainty to the marketplace for individuals and for businesses. And we want to stop this business of it changing every couple of years. Let's nail it down. Let's let people know what is going to happen. Let's give them some certainty, and let's do the president's, join him in putting the focus on jobs, 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 and getting the economy growing again. We would all love to see a 3% growth rate for our economy.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Well, even amid